Hi, welcome to this episode for Church Safety and Security Teams. This episode is going to be geared for church security or safety teams. And what I mean by that is there is a difference. Even though the terms are used interchangeably, what we see when we're doing events for other faith-based organizations or churches is we'll meet guys from other areas and other churches, and we'll get into these conversations. I'm on such and such safety team, or I'm on such and such security team, and we start sharing ideas and different things that we do, right? And so the one thing that we know that's common across the board is most guys don't know what the difference is. Okay, even though the term is used interchangeably, both hold completely different scopes. Okay, security is not safety, and safety is not security. And so we want to kind of address that today and talk about what the difference is. But before we do that, the one thing we should be doing is asking, why do we need to know the difference? This is a very important question. And the reason that we need to know the difference between the two is, for one, the countermeasures that we take to actually mitigate the threat, right? And the other one is the different types of training that are available and the ones that we receive. We certainly don't want to send guys that are tasked out for security to safety trainings. You can, but if their primary function is security, you want to send them to security trainings or give them that type of education, and vice versa. If we have guys that are geared more towards safety, we want to give them the proper training and education that's geared towards the goal that we're trying to achieve, right? And so that's the difference, and that's why we would want to know what the difference between the two is. And now we can kind of move into what safety and security is. So let's look at safety for a minute and talk about it. Safety is to protect against unintentional or accidental causes of danger or injury or threats. These have nothing to do with security. These are all geared towards safety. And some of those categories that we can define as safety are like natural disasters, allergic reactions, medical issues, trips and falls, chemical burns or reactions to chemicals, and fires. These are all just a basic scope of what safety is. For example, if you come up to a church and none of the curbs are painted and somebody does not see the curb there, maybe it's a child or an elderly person with bad vision, and they trip and fall over the curb, something to do for safety at that point would be paint the curb yellow. Because now we're mitigating a safety issue and also mitigating a possible lawsuit. So anytime someone gets injured, you're always going to be faced with that as an option, being a lawsuit. Not saying it's going to happen, but it could. And so we really need to look at the safety of the people of the church. And safety is primarily to protect people. Okay, so safety is not a bad idea. It's just the definition of safety is accidental or intentional causes of danger, injury, harm, or any other threat labeled under safety. Okay, so let's take a second to look at security. What is it? It's to protect against unintentional acts of crime, violence, or threats. Okay, see, these have a deliberate intent behind them. And so some of the examples that we have are active shooters or active assailants, thefts, vandalism, cybercrime, kidnapping, and rape. These are just a few, but the whole general idea here is that this would be the difference between safety, because this is security. And so the way that we handle our teams are going to be fashioned to what it is we're trying to mitigate. What are we trying to prevent from happening? And so that is the difference between safety and security. Now, something as simple as not leaving women in the church alone with another male might prevent a rape. It could also prevent kidnappings. Letting kids run outside without supervision in the church parking lot or on playgrounds. Some churches have playgrounds. Those could also prevent kidnappings. One thing that I have found is a lot of churches don't have a way to kind of match a child to parent. So something simple like giving a tag to a parent that's got the same identification for the kid, and when the parent comes to pick up the kid, they hand the tag to whoever's in charge of the child's area, right? So that they know that they're matching up parent to child. That would be a good thing to have in your church that would prevent a kidnapping. So kind of just to recap, security is to protect against deliberate attacks versus safety is to prevent accidental attacks. Okay, so now that we know the difference between safety and security, here's some suggestions and some tips that we could leave you with to help you with your safety or security team. For one, our church integrates the two together. Okay, we have some guys that are for more of our security. These are the guys that conceal carry and train in those regards, and some of them have backgrounds in law enforcement or military, things like that. Those are the guys that we tend to gear for security. Then we have other guys that really aren't interested in carrying a gun. They really don't like guns, but they are for the well-being of other people, and so we gear them up for the safety side of things, and then we just kind of cross-train each other. That works really well. Our team that we have, that we send out to other churches and their facilities and events, we do the same thing. We cross-train. Okay, there's some guys that are more medically driven, that like the medical field, and there's some guys that are more gun savvy. And they not that one guy disagrees with guns or not, it's just their scope is completely different. And so, but one other thing I would recommend to you is to observe your church settings. Ask your team members if, where do you see fire extinguishers? See if they know where they're around. Because these things in an emergency, you're going to need these basic items, right? See if they know where the AED is at. Also, pay attention to the people, your congregation. What age group are they? Are they predominantly elderly? Do you have a lot of young people? And then kind of say, well, what could happen with these age groups that we might need to mitigate in case an injury or something happens, right? And that'll also help you determine whether you need to do a safety team or a security team or integrate the two. My recommendation is integrate the two. Then the other thing I would recommend to you is conduct an area study. An area study is simply looking at the crime in your area. You can use 3 miles in diameter, 5 miles, however far you want to go out. But conduct an area study. Look at the types of crime that are happening in that area, because those are the crimes that'll also tell you what you need to gear up for. All right. The third thing I would leave you with is get some training. Some training and education will cost money. There's a lot of available free resources out there. Brotherhood Mutual has a lot of free resources for you to utilize. Use them. FEMA, they have a lot of great resources that you're able to read, and some of them have exams and things like that. But get you some training, get some education, and put it all together. Thank you for watching this video. We'll see you on the next one.